3 games of the Houston series. It goes to Game 7. We barely get out of that series, and now they're looking at me like, when you coming back? And I had a fractured leg, but it's being put out there like he got a bone bruise. I'm like, no, it's fractured. But so I'm fighting with the team. I'm fighting with people. I'm fighting with the media. And then my teammates ask me every day, how you feeling? How you feeling?
You played under Mark Jackson for a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, whatever happened to Mark? Because he put that team together, it seems like, and then nobody ever gave him a chance again, which seems weird.
We were just talking about that this morning, and I just talked about it earlier, about playing a part. But if that's not who you really are, you can't play the part, or you can't play the politics game. And I think it was a lot of that. Like, we were huge fans of Mark, the players. He was the ultimate players coach.
You think Mark Jackson is blackballed from the NBA?
I do, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I think so too.
So a lot of stuff there, that's for sure. Chris Broussard back with us now. Blackballed, fracture versus bone bruise. Chris, what's your reaction to all this?
Well, watching this, my first reaction was, is Iguodala a free agent? You know, because he has to go back to the Warriors for a year after this. First, the KD situation. If what it looks like he's saying was, they said it put out there, the team, that it was a bone bruise when it was a fracture. Now, how did he know it was a fracture? Did he have a second opinion? Did the team, it's hard to tell. But if the team put out there it's a bone bruise and Iggy knew it was a fracture, then that lends credence to this notion that did they put out a calf strain when they knew it was an Achilles? Now, I do not believe that the Warriors looked at Kevin Durant, knew it was an Achilles injury, and told him and everybody else it was a calf strain. I could believe they knew it was an Achilles, he knew it was an Achilles. And then they all said, you know what, it's better. Like, they convinced him, or he just felt, I don't want to go into free agency with teams knowing I have an Achilles injury, so I'll go along with the calf strain. But to think that they just blatantly lied to him and said, no, it's a calf strain when they knew it was an Achilles, I don't believe that.
What about if they misled him about the severity of the injury? Okay, yeah, you got an Achilles, but I mean, for KD to play on an Achilles, they had to have. He's like, well, you can't do it any more damage than already done.
Which means
they're telling him the severity of it is very minor.
But here's the sticking point is this. We heard Steve Kerr say everybody was involved, including KD and his own independent doctor.
Right.
So that's what makes this thing really murky. Right. Did he have his own doctor, and it was his doctor saying the same thing as the Warriors?
Right.
So if the doctor was indeed saying the same thing as the Warriors, that protects the Warriors. So there's that. With Mark Jackson, there's no doubt in my mind he has been informally blackballed by the NBA.
Or Shannon says whiteballed.
Right, okay. When I say that, I mean, the league obviously hasn't sent anything out, hey, don't hire Mark Jackson. They've hired Mark Jackson to be a broadcaster. So that's not I don't think the owners have conspired and said, look, none of us hired Mark Jackson. That's what I mean by informal. But his relationship with Joe Lacob, the owner, was not good. And that was the main problem that he had in Golden State. That last year, they really didn't talk to each other very much. And we know the owners is an old boy network, even still. And Lacob, I'm sure, has been, he just tells other owners, man, I would stay away from that guy. It was a problem, and because basketball-wise, Mark Jackson, look, I give Steve Kerr credit for taking him to a level none of us thought possible, right? But Mark Jackson was a very good coach. And the confidence he instilled in Clay and Steph, I think if I'm Minnesota and I got Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, I'm looking at saying I want him to instill that in them. If I'm Chicago and I've got all these good, young, talented players, I want that type of coach for them. So the fact that he has not even had an interview, let alone gotten a job, he's undoubtedly been blackballed.
For me, Skip, Mark Jackson reached out to me, and he basically said, because he wanted to clear up some things that Iggy had said on the Breakfast Club, and he said, I didn't have church. I never had church at that facility with anyone. I never expressed my views publicly with anyone on gay marriages. Folks are all assuming. Now, there have been several occasions. Now, he's refuted. This is not the first time, but he's refuted a lot of what's been said about him and how
attributed to him.
Attributed to, correct. attributed to him. Go ahead, Skip. I just wanted to clear that up.
You're right, because he said, like, when he was asked about the game, he just said, "No, I'm praying for Jason Collins."
Right.
Asked about, so he hasn't. I don't ever recall him coming out and condemning anything like that.
The thing is, and I hate the term black because somehow it's got attributed to negativity. Yeah. We don't want to eat dark meat chicken. We scared of the dark. Black market. I'm saying Black Friday. All that. I say white ball because see, Skip, Chris, in our community we blackball somebody. That just means we don't mess with you. We can't prevent you from coming and going.
Right.
But when they white ball you, they can inhibit your ability to get a job in said environment.
I hear you.
The Andre Iguodala, Skip, and I've said this having been an athlete, and I have a very unique perspective because I wasn't always, as they know me in Denver, as 84. I came in as 81. So I was a 7th round draft pick, Skip. When you get injured, okay, you're injured. There was really no expectation. But the better you became, the more they needed you out there. And they just subtle things. Hey, you okay? I know you don't have to be worried, but I know you'll be ready to go on Sunday. It's just Wednesday. I know you're going to be, you see my ankle bigger than a balloon. You talking about going on Sunday, but hey, take as much time as you need. Everything's going to be okay. And then your teammate, you good? Hey, bro, that game plan, you see that game plan? Man, that thing got you heavily involved. They know you're going to be ready. I'm like, dude. So that's just, Skip, that's just the way it is. And this is not unique to Golden State. Even though Joe Lacob said they're light years ahead, this is not unique to them. Basically, what they're saying is that they value winning. And they were willing to roll the dice with KD's help, with Klay Thompson's help. They were willing to roll the dice to get that three-peat because three-peat would have put them in very unique company. There have been a lot of teams that went back-to-back, Skip. The Pistons went back-to-back, the bad boy Pistons. But can you imagine if they'd have three-peated? That's what makes the Lakers, the last team, to three-peat. That's what makes the Bulls. That's what makes these teams so legendary is when you can put together three. And Golden State was willing to roll the dice to get to three because that's what, championship, you're going to forever be remembered. Now I tell you, like, man, if KD hadn't got hurt, if Klay, they're never going to reach that mythical, that pinnacle of being a three-peat, a three-time champ, excuse me.
So we're juggling two very different issues here. Yeah. So I'm going to go back to the first one, the Durant issue. I'm with you about Andre. I have no idea what he's thinking about.
He repenting.
He set his own bridge on fire to go back over the Bay Bridge to wherever they're going to play.
Skip, not to cut you off, but you remember, you heard what he said about the Kyle Lowry? He said the dude, that's in his heart. You could tell that money, that's how he really feels. I'm like, oh. My opinion, quickly, because I want to get to you. I think he got caught up. He's on a hip-hop show. If he had been being interviewed by me or an NBA reporter, I think he would have had his guard up a little more. But I think he got caught up in thinking maybe, who's going to hear this outside of players? Maybe. That's the only explanation I can think of, right?
Because he damned his organization by comparison.
Yes.
When he brought up his situation of the year before, and he went all the way to, they publicly called it a bone bruise. Well, that's the lowest of lows for an organization to lie about a fracture and call it a bone bruise, heaping more and more pressure on Andre. You got to come back.
It ain't a fracture, bro. You just got a bone bruise. It's okay.
Okay. And to your point, I don't know the gory details. Did he go get a second? How did he? Was it not until after the year that he went for a second opinion and they said, "Oh, you got a broken bone"?
That actually could make
a point. All right. So when you compare it to Kevin's situation, it makes you really suspicious of how they handled this. And I don't know the nuances. What was it Achilles fraying? And they said, "Oh, you can't hurt it anymore," when obviously it is in danger zone.
Yes.
So. And not only, he has said several times before yesterday, "Oh, Kevin's coming back." He's definitely, well, now I don't know about Kevin coming back because this would be a strong indication Kevin wouldn't want to rejoin an organization that did that to Andre and to him, right? Because it's kind of hard for Andre to go back to that. But he did this year, I don't know. Now to Mark Jackson. He was an excellent basketball coach. He was hardcore. He was fundamentalist. He was staunch in his Christian beliefs and also staunch in his basketball beliefs.
Yes.
Because he taught them how to play at the rudimentary levels of this is how you do this. This is how you win at this level. And you start on the defensive end. And he instilled in them a defensive mindset that paid huge dividends for Steve Kerr. because I'm not sure that's Steve's forte. Steve's more on he's more of offensive minded. And yet, if you look at their arc, those 3 years, he had Steph and Clay. Clay was a rookie, and Steph, I think, was in his second year, I believe. And here they go. They go 23 and 43, then all of a sudden they go 47 and 35. And trust me, they took my Spurs to the brink in that first round. And Steph's ankles were still bothering him. But then that next year, they're 51 and 31, and they take the Clippers to 7 games, and it was just knockdown, drag-out rivalry game. And he gets fired. And the Joe Lacob comment, the owner's comment, was part of it was that Mark couldn't get along with anyone else in this organization. Okay, we know Mark, you know him, we all, okay. He is his own man, and it is his way or get out of my office is sort of his attitude. And when people come from upstairs to say, hey, maybe we tweak this, and no, he doesn't want to hear it. No, this is how you teach this game. We do it this way. And yet all of he's staunch in his religious beliefs because he was a pastor.
Right.
And he continued to be a pastor, and I know there was some concern on management's part that he's spending too much time trying to continue to be the pastor of the church in Southern California, which is in Van Nuys.
Right.
Okay, I think the bigger picture was they just did, to your point, he was just hard to get along with for Joe Lacob.
Right.
And once that bridge gets set on fire, then all of a sudden Joe Lacob's telling other owners, boy, he's just hard to get along with, right?
Yeah, if you're the head coach, Skip, and you can't get along with the owner, it's kind of hard for you to keep your job.
That is true.
So many of the players loved him, including Steph.
Yes.
And that's the thing about the religious beliefs. First of all, and the same thing for the NFL. He's far from the only coach or player with strong religious beliefs.
Right.
And you got a ton of players on that team, including Steph Curry, who have very similar Christian religious beliefs.
And Andre.
Right, Andre too. Bob Myers used to go to chapel. You know, he may be a Christian. So that in Golden State, obviously in San Francisco, is an incredibly liberal area.
Very open.
But that wouldn't explain these other parts of the country. You know, so I do think he's been whiteballed, as you would say. There's no question.
And yet, he has a very good job, and he does it very well on ESPN, ABC telecasts. And so I'm happy for him, but it's just disappointing that somebody wouldn't give him one more shot just on basketball principle. Because to your point, you give him a young team, he's going to take them places. He's going to show them the right way to play this game.
Because I think the thing that worked well for him with Golden State, they really didn't have any bad habits. So you get a young team, and you can still, this is the way we play defense. We got to get up into people. We got to play defense. Yeah, we want everybody. I know everybody want to put the ball in the basket, and that's how you get these big shoe endorsement deals. But if you can't stop people from scoring, it's going to be hard for you to win. I don't believe you'll be able to score enough points to win consistently. So his impact on Steph, Clay, and Draymond, excuse me, and they speak glowingly. It's not like, well, yeah, you know, he was here and, you know, we preach. No, they speak glowingly. The first championship, they went over there, he was calling the game, they went to the desk and shook his hand. After they won, like, basically saying, appreciate, man, what you had done for us.
I wonder, you know, and again, not taking anything from Steve Kerr, because he did put in a different offense. Mark ran that high pick and roll and all that. But Draymond was off the bench for Mark. And David Lee was starting. And when Steve Kerr got there, David Lee was going to start. And he wasn't sure how he's going to use Draymond. Draymond was going to be in the same bench role and not play a ton. And then David Lee got hurt, and he was forced to put Draymond in, and the rest is history. If Mark had been the coach and that had happened, I do wonder, would they have gone to a whole nother level too? Again, they wouldn't have had the same offense, but would have been interesting.
The difference was Steve Kerr is the owner's dream because he gets along with everybody, and he's the nicest guy in the world, so he's easy to function with on a daily basis.
Yes, and David Lee had just signed that massive contract. Draymond was a second-round pick. It's hard to, you know, take a guy that's making $15, $17 million out of the starting lineup, let him come off the bench, and put a $2 million guy in there.
Right.
But here we are.